somebody told me about kind of someplace in the world, a facility like 1871. I said, I don't get it. Isn't it just office space? Well, no, it really isn't. And but you know, when people started with this idea a few years back, really that's kind of where things started. And now you see the energy, the startups, the sharing of ideas.
Microsoft used to be a startup way back when.
Way back when, yeah.
Way back when. So if you can harken back to the early days, can you talk a little bit about what your experience was like? What kind of interesting difficulties you went through?
I lived down the hall from Bill Gates the year he and Paul Allen started Microsoft, and there was no concept like this. But Paul Allen had seen the first microprocessor-driven computer on the cover of Popular Electronics. This is November of '74. And he comes running into our door and said, Bill, we have to build every piece of software for this machine. Big vision helps. Let's start with big vision helps. Bill had asked me to drop out of school to join him in this small company in the United States, stay friends. After about a month, I figured out that we were committed to do about 45 people's worth of work, and we only had 30 people. And I went to see Bill and say, hey, look, man, we got to hire 15 people. And he said, I didn't ask you to drop out of school to bankrupt our company. Next lesson for startups, not bankrupting your company is a very good idea. And he said, you know what all these yellow pieces of paper, I was living with him at the time, you know what all those yellow pieces of paper are all over my house? I mean, literally, every couch you find a little yellow piece of paper with some numbers and words scratched on it. I said, no. He says, let me show you. It was a list of every contract the company had, every employee, and how much money was coming in, and how much money had to go out to pay the employee. He was so panicked about bankruptcy, he just kept writing it down over and over to make sure. He said, I didn't ask you to drop out to bankrupt the place. What mobility has really meant so far, I think, is two things. It's meant all-day operation, whether that's connectivity or battery life. It's meant all-day operation, which is quite important. And it's meant all-day availability in terms of I can probably physically carry. Those are the two things it's meant. So the question is, what's the next phase? What doesn't work about mobility today? There's a lot of runway. The truth of the matter is, some mobile devices today make you compromise against some of the things that you really like about non-mobile devices. Let's take education. Every school system wants all their kids to have a mobile device. The problem is most mobile devices aren't really very good for homework, in fact. And so the question is, what is the innovation? And it's not just a question of it's a bigger screen on the same form factor. You'll get that. But what will really change? What's going to change in screen technology? What's going to change in battery technology? What's going to change in augmented reality or glasses? Or what are the technologies that are going to take kind of the UI of mobile and give you the best of mobile with the best of what people have associated with the past and the best of things that people aren't even thinking about today? We build lots of stuff. And we have people who work on them and love their products. There are guys who really love data. Databases are getting sort of reworked and then reworked back again. Right now, if you ask me, the number one thing we hear from startups is it's really hard to get our database stuff working well in the cloud. Low-level cloud platform, simpler, but really getting kind of our SQL equivalent and structured data much harder for us right now than some other things. On the other hand, the thing that people always get excited about are things that basically end users see. And if an end user doesn't see it, people have a hard time getting excited about it. And I think right now, it's the new applications that are enabled by the cloud, that amaze people. I'll tell you one thing I'm excited about myself is getting rid of paper. Most people, even at Microsoft, will still bring an old-style notebook to take notes. Things are not roamed, they're not available, they're not backed up.
Lots of startup folks, for both their front ends and their back ends, don't choose Microsoft platforms as their first targets. Talk a little bit, if you could, about why they might, change their mind.
Our catalog is getting bigger. 130,000 is not tiny, but it is not large compared to what you would find particularly on iOS. And so the opportunity to both serve a lot more customers, because you get at the laptop for the first time. And the question is, do you think a laptop's still around in some form as a mobile device? And I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. In fact, I think if you think of most of what you do in the meetings you're in, you're probably more likely to use a laptop for your work than you are to use either a tablet or a phone. The number of inventions, whether it's around the things enabled by the cloud or on new device types, new application types, I think it's just as good a time as any. People say, oh, the tech revolution happened. At one time, people would have said it happened in the 80s. Then there was a time when people said, oh, everything was done by the 90s. And then everybody would say it was all done, in 2007 when the iPhone came along. And the truth of the matter is, it's all really still in front of us, which is remarkable.